So today I'm going to be finishing up the decorating process for fall, and I'm going to be working here in our entryway and finishing up this tree here, and thought I would share with you how I do my ribbons in the trees, and also just kind of share what I've done so far here for the season. This is pretty typical for me. Once I get things the way I like them, I just kind of reuse the same things I have year over year. Every once in a while, I'll bring in some new pieces if I see something that is unique or would add to the spaces. But generally speaking, I just reuse the same things that I have year after year. So here in the entry, I have these 3 candlesticks in this vase. Normally, they are swapped, but for the fall season, I moved the vase here and added these maple stems from Pottery Barn. I really like these stems because they have these acorns, these faux acorns in them, and so it makes them look a little bit more realistic. And there are 2 different kinds here. One has the more orangey traditional color tones of the fall, and then this muted more cream colored leaves here. They also have acorns, but I just mixed them, and there's 4 stems in here. For the runner, I got this runner years ago at Burlington. They have some really nice runners for like seasonal runners. If you're in the market for them, you should probably check them out. I like to pop in there from time to time and just see what they have. But I got this one there, like I said, years ago, and I just layered it over the one that I keep out here year round. So I just layered it right on top. And normally I would switch out these candles for the fall, say like an darker orange, or for Christmas a red or white. But I just kept the cream ones in there, which are the everyday ones that I keep on this table here. This table is actually one that my husband made. I had picked up these beachcomber baskets from Pottery Barn years ago, and just had envisioned them being here on a table in our entryway, and couldn't find anything large enough with a large enough opening to fit them. So my husband measured them and calculated the dimensions that he would need, and then he built the table. And then we painted the base white and stained the top. And I really like how that turned out. It's very large. This mirror here behind it is also from Pottery Barn. And I really like the look of how it turned out. And so like I said, once I get things the way I like them, that's typically the way they stay for years and years. I don't typically change things out unless I just find something that I love even more than what I have. So this is the tree that we'll be working on today. This is a pre-lit, I think it's 7.5 feet from Michael's online. It's the Ashland brand. I ordered it several years ago, and I normally, up until about 2 years ago, I would just pull these out for Christmas. And I think last year was the first year that I had decided to bring them out a little earlier and decorate them for the fall season as well. So to do that, I always start with, I put the tree up obviously. And then this is just, after I fluffed the branches, I added this garland here. It's, like I said, it's also pre-lit. This tree is pre-lit. I don't actually it's battery operated, but I don't put batteries in it or turn it on because the tree is pre-lit. So I just, you can find these, they're kind of expensive if you buy them at full price, but I always wait till the 40% off sale. And like I said, I got these years ago, and I just reuse them year after year. So they are really good quality and they've lasted for a while. And I'm pretty rough with them when I decorate. So I pull on them and tug on them and manipulate them a lot. And they've held together really well. So to start, I just took one of the garlands, excuse me. I took one of the garlands and started at the very top and just secured it at the back with using one of these wire branches. And then I just wrapped it around pretty tightly until I came to the end and secured it. And then I added another one, and I did the same thing all the way down the tree. And this is probably, I want to say 3 or 4 garlands that would, you know, reach from the top to the bottom on this 7.5-foot tree. The skirt is actually not a skirt. It's a remnant of a cut of fabric from Hobby Lobby. And underneath it, I put a throw blanket. I just wrapped it around the base of the stand. And then I wrapped the yellow fabric around so that it kind of gives it like a fluffier look there. And then the top is just these little picks from also from Hobby Lobby. And they're just stuck down in here. There's like 3 of them, I think. And then the very top, I took one of these branches here, the one that's muted, and I added it to the very top, and I just slid the stem down the trunk of the tree and secured it with the branches. And so that was my starting point. I'm not going to do too much more to these trees. I'm going to add some ribbon and some more like picks that have like pumpkins in them, and I'll show you those here in a bit. So I'm standing in my smaller dining room now, and these are the supplies that I picked up to finish off the trees. The ribbon that I'll be using is this. All of the ribbons are from Amazon this year. I got this 2.5-inch wide wired sparkly leaf ribbon, which I thought was really pretty. I got this burlap. I think this is 1.5 inch. Let's see. Yeah, 1.5 inch, just natural burlap ribbon, also wired. I picked up this green, really pretty green ribbon, wired. Make sure that if you do add ribbons to your trees, that the wired is always best. So all of this is wired. This is a dark brown, chocolate brown color. And then I got this, this 1.5 inch ribbon here, like an accent ribbon. I really liked this one because of the pine cones. So I picked that up to decorate the tree that I just showed you in the entryway, as well as this tree here. And so I'll pick, this will go in one tree, and then this will go in the other, and then I'll just pick some of the solid colors to go with them. So I haven't made that decision yet of which ribbon is going to go where, but we'll do that today. And then I'm going to finish off the trees with these picks. So these are the picks that I was talking about earlier. So they have pumpkins, and then they just have just some other things wrapped into this pick, like leaves, and I don't know what all that stuff is, but it's good. It's really good filler. I got a variety of colors of pumpkins and leaves, and I got enough to do, I think I have like 5 to 7 per tree. So I got those last weekend on sale at 40% off at Hobby Lobby. So I think we'll go ahead and try to decide now which ribbons I will use in the entry tree and work on that tree first. So what I like to do is I like to, just to kind of give you my process. So I like to pick a solid ribbon. I'll turn all this sideways so you can see the colors a little bit easier. I like to pick an accent ribbon, so one that has like a pattern on it, and pair that with a solid ribbon. Again, they're all wired. I also like to pair the 2.5 inch ribbon or thicker with a thinner ribbon. So one tree, I'm going to use this as the top layer accent ribbon, and then the other tree, I'm just going to use this thicker ribbon. I had a hard time finding ribbon this year that really spoke to me, but so this is what I landed on. Normally, I would keep the pattern ribbon as this smaller ribbon because I like to layer those on the top as the top layer. But we'll figure it out. So I need to decide which of these ribbons I want to put where. So to do that, I'm just going to kind of look around, look at the tree, and this, like for this one, it has that orange tablecloth, so plaid. So I want to make sure that it's not going to clash or be too busy against it. Both of these are kind of busy, but so what I'll do is I kind of use that as a guide. So I know that it'll go with the tree. So I'm really just concerned with whether or not it will, you know, which one will look better with the tree skirt. So I have this one looks pretty good. I might go with this one. I don't know. Let's go look at the tree that we have in the entryway and see, because that skirt in here is yellow. So I really want to make sure that I pick one that is gonna go well with the yellow. So this one has some yellow in it as well. I really like this. I think I might use this one in the other room and use this one here, because this one has a lot of yellow, a lot of darker, like different shades of yellow and green. So I feel like it ties better with this skirt. This one does. This one matches too, but I feel like this one matches a little bit better. And also with the pine cones, I feel like that would like really tie in well with this ribbon. And then also these pillows here. So I just kind of like look around at the surrounding decor that I've added and just try to see which one goes better. So I think I'm going to go with this one, and now we will go and pick out the solid color that that I will pair with it. I think I'm going to go with the brown, just to pull out the brown in the pine cone. Let's see. Instead of the green. Let's see. Yeah, I like that. I like these two together. I think that will look pretty together. And then this one will look really pretty with the green, I feel like. And pull that green out. I just want to make sure that it's not going to clash with this tree skirt now over here. I think it will be okay. Yeah, it will be, because there's green in the tree skirt. So perfect. So that's my decision made. Okay, so the first thing that I do after I unwrap the ribbon is I just take some scissors and I start my end. I like to cut all my ends of my ribbon off at an angle. So I will just make that first cut and just trim it at an angle. Some people do the fishtail look, and that's pretty too. I just prefer just a simple angle. So I cut the ribbon at an angle, and then the next thing I do is I hold onto that tail and I just let the spool drop to the floor. And so what I like to do to start the process is I'm going to be creating a series of 3 loops, and that's how I'm going to start at the very top of the tree and create 3 loops, which will kind of finish off the topper. And then again, I'm going to come in again later with the accent ribbon, the smaller ribbon, to layer on top. But this is the starting point. So I'm going to create 3 loops. So what I like to do is I trim that in and I put it here in the crook of my arm, and I just kind of measure it out like that to the tip of my middle finger. And that's kind of how long the first tail is that I want. So I will hold it there where I measured, and then just come along down about 6 to 8 inches and come up and form a loop. At that point, I kind of scrunch them together like this and hold it. And then I'm gonna create another loop. So all you have is your long tail, a loop, and you've squeezed it together, and you're just holding it there in the center to keep that secure. Okay, so if you're using ribbon that has a back side and a front side, you're gonna wanna make sure that you always have your front side facing out. So in this case, this ribbon is the same on both sides, so I don't have to worry about that so much. But for this purpose, most ribbon does have a front and back, so I'm just gonna show you how I work around that, even though this doesn't matter for this ribbon. So to do that, let's just say this was the front side here. So you're gonna have to go in and turn that right where you have it held in your finger, turn it so that the right side is on the outside when you come back to make the rest, that second bow or that second loop for the bow. So the same thing, if the ribbon is the same, you don't have to turn it at all. You're just gonna have that, create your loop and not worry about it. But for this sake, I just do a little twist and I hold it there with between my two fingers, and I come out again about the same length that I did to create this bow, and that will keep your loops even. So it's about 6 to 8 inches. So I'm gonna come out and come back, and then I just add it to that hand in between those fingers. So now I've got 2 loops and the tail pinched in between those same fingers here. I just joined it together. And then I'm gonna do that one more time. So again, here's the part where you would twist if you need to make sure the outside of your ribbon is facing out with the nice side out. So you twist and kind of just hold that in place, go out about the same amount of length to make sure your loops stay the same size, and come up and add it to your fingers, to the fingers that we're holding. So now you've got 3 loops, a tail, and then this is still connected to the spool. So at that point, I'm gonna go in and take this tail and kind of line it up with the other tail. It doesn't have to be precise, and I'm gonna cut that on an angle like that. At this point, you are gonna need some wire, which I did not get, so pause, I'm gonna go get some. I'm gonna use some wire to secure this in place. So I probably should have done this before I started, but that's okay. I'm just gonna hold on to this tight so I don't lose what I just did. And open up this I just have this little container that I have from Hobby Lobby, mangled, but I use it and reuse it season after season for Christmas, fall, whatever. So all of these are already cut in the length that I typically like to use. Let's see if I can get a piece out of here without making a mess. There we go. So I'm gonna set this aside. Really all you need is floral wire and then some wire cutters. And again, I just keep it all in this container. So now the bow that we just made, where you need to secure it with this wire so that it stays together when we put it in the tree. You could also use the tree if it's wired, the branches, you could use that too. I have done that in the past, but for the topper, I find it looks better if you use wire. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go right into one of the loops around where my fingers were holding all of that together, and then just bring both ends up like that, and then take my other hand and just twist those together really tight so you have a really tight hold. And once you've got that inside the wire, you can let go, obviously, of the bow that you just made. So this is the part that is why it's so important for you to be using wired ribbon, because at this point you can go in and kind of fix your bows. You'll have to do this again when you get it in the tree, but just to show you, you can make these look however you want. So at this point, I just kind of fluff it out and just kind of make sure that the loops are around the same size. If they're not, you can pull on them and do that before you get it in the tree or before you add it to the tree. But I just like to have both tails kind of down and then 3 little loops like that. So now we're gonna add this to the top of the tree. And I'm gonna bring you forward just a little bit. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so I'm gonna step on the stool here and get up higher. And what I'm going to do is to take the ends of these wires, I'm gonna go up into the top of the tree. I like to come down. So I've talked about these, the stems that I added to the top of the tree. So I like to come down just below that to create like the base of the topper. So the stems are like the top, and then the bow is like right at the base of those stems. So I'm gonna add that. And how I do that is I take these wires like this, and I just reach into the top of the tree, and I take that wire, and I just twist it around like a bread tie and secure it that way. So I'm gonna do that really quickly. And then I'll take you off the tripod and show you a closer look. Once it's in the tree, then I can come back and I just kind of fluff the loops of the bow, and I just kind of fan them out like this, because next I will come in with the smaller ribbon and layer that in to finish off the bow. So it looks like a bow, but really it's just 2 sets of 3 loops joined together with floral wire. So now I'm going to, you have these long tails here, and what I like to do with those is I like to kind of come in from the back with my hand and just bump, like come forward and bump up with my hand, and then come in and scrunch into the tree like that. So it kind of creates this loop effect coming off of that, the 3 loops that we made. So I'll do that here, and I'll do it here. So I come in the back, and I just kind of bump it like this and gather down at like right below my hand, and then I go in, and then I'm using the branch, one of the branches of the tree, to secure that in. And I'll show you what that looks like just a second up close. So then, so now I've got my 3 loops at the top, and I just kind of fan those out, and then I create 2 loops coming off of the bigger loop, so that it looks like an extension of the bow that we just made. And let me show you now up close so you can get a better idea. This is a close-up of what we just did. So I wired in the set of 3 loops that we just made, and then I used the tails. Again, I bumped it out to create this loop here and secured it to the tree, and then just left the longer end hanging. I did that to both tails, and this is what it looks like in the tree. So I came right below the base of this longest stem and kind of around these other little smaller stems, and that's where I secured it. And then that's what it looks like so far. So now I will come back with this ribbon and do the same thing in the center to finish off that bow. Okay, so the bow that we just added to the top of the tree here was facing out this way. So I just went into the tree and just gave it a turn so that when you're coming into the entry, you can kind of see that topper here. And then I created another one, the same as we did before on this back side, so that it gives it more of like a 360 view of the tree. Same way, I just created 3 bows with long tails. I did a loop and just popped that up to kind of make it an extension of the bow, and left the tails long here. So now that I've got the 2 bases of the bows up at the tree, I'm going to go in with this ribbon here and finish them off. So let me get this open. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. So to start the ribbon off, I'm just going to take my scissors and trim the end at an angle like that. Put this down. And then I'm just going to hold onto that tail and let the roll drop to the floor. So in the same way that I did before with the other 2 bows, I'm going to create 3 loops. These loops, I want them to be a little bit smaller than the loops that I created before, because they're going to layer in on top of the, let me come into frame there. They're going to layer in in the front of, on the top of these loops here to create that bow. So I'm going to, again, create the long tail. So I'm going to put the end of that ribbon right at the crook of my arm and measure out to about my middle finger, and then hold the ribbon there and create 3 little loops. So I just pick up the ribbon and bring it to my other hand and pinch, and that's my first loop. Now, as I said before, this ribbon actually does have a back side and a front side, so it's important to definitely twist to make sure that all 3 bows that I make, or all 3 loops that I make to create the bow, are have that right side out on the ribbon. So to do that, I'm going to go in and twist right in between my first finger and my middle finger and hold that twist. So now it forces the ribbon to flip over with the back side facing up. And then I'm going to just bring the ribbon back to my fingers and hold. And now you've got 2 loops. Now, when you come back around, it automatically makes the back side face up. So again, we're going to have to twist it again to get the front side out again when we make the 3rd loop. And when you first start doing this, it kind of does feel a little awkward. You just have to keep practicing. But as long as you just hold your center tight with the other hand, you should just be able to manipulate this ribbon however you like, and it will stay because it does have the wires. So I've twisted that in my hand, and now I'm ready to make that 3rd loop. Again, I'm just going to make it about the same size as I did the others to keep it consistent, and add it to my fingers. And so now I've got this grouping of the 3 loops in this hand, and now I'm just going to make sure that these loops are all the same size. So you can tug on it and pull on it, and make the ribbon, make the loops all the same size. So that's what I'm doing now. And then you want to get a piece of wire and secure this in the center here so you can take your hand off of it. So before I add the wire, I'm going to come back and cut that other tail. So I just kind of eyeball it and make it about the same size as the other one and just cut it at an angle. And so what I end up with is these 3 loops with 2 long tails. Again, just holding them in the center here. All 3 have the pattern of the ribbon, or the right side of the ribbon, facing out. And then the tails, I just kind of twist and move so that those are also facing out like that. So now I'm going to get some wire, just like we did before. One thing that I would say for the ribbon that's going to go on top of the base ribbon that we just did, or the base bow that we just made, I would say a longer piece of wire will help you, and I'll explain why in a second. So I'm just going to go through that loop with the wire where my fingers were, and I'm going to wrap that around, the 2 pieces around, and just kind of keep the ends of the wire even, like this. And then just like you would twist a bread twisty tie, just twist that around to lock it in place and hold it. And then at that point, you can just take a moment and just manipulate your ribbon, fluff out your bows, and just assess again, are they about the same size? If not, you can tug on them to kind of, even them out, and you end up with this. So now I'm going to go in and put this on top of the other bow that we made. And what I'm going to do is, there's 2 long pieces of wire here. I'm going to go right into the center of the bow and secure this around the tree on top of that bow. So I'm going to do that now. So I've got it in, and I just went into the center of the 3 loops that we created before, and I wrapped that ribbon, or the wire, around the loop of 1 and across to the back. and wired it in. What I like to do when I place the loops on here is, you know, from the back to the back base ribbon to the front. So this back is, you can see the loops are like facing this direction. So when I put the top set of loops on top, I like to turn it just a little bit so that those loops are facing in this, you know, in the middle or opposite directions of the other bow, so that when it comes together, when you put it together, it looks like an actual bow that you created in your tree, instead of just like how we did it before. So at this point you can just play around with it and just because it's wire, and then just make the loops, fix the loops however you want them, and just play around with them until you're happy. And then I've left these tails long, but I'm going to go back now and do the same thing where I'm just kind of attaching it into the tree like this, just like we did before. So I pinch it and I go in and I use a branch to secure it, and then I just kind of fluff up these popped up version, the pop up extension of the bow here with the ribbon. So let me do that and I'll show you what that looks like. So I've got the second set of loops, the second ribbon all in, wired in, and I just used the branch of the tree, and I actually, this is the one that was holding the brown ribbon, so I undid it and then just added this on top and then twisted it back so that they're actually wired in at the exact same point. And then I just kind of move the ribbon out. So this one, I just kind of, however it likes to fall is where I lay it. I don't really fight with the ribbon like this one. This one, I kind of like them to be more spread out like this, but this one wasn't having that. So I just left it the way it was, and just kind of let the tails fall wherever they want to fall. And there is the final result of the tree topper on this side. So I will repeat the steps to finish out the topper on the opposite side, and I'll come back and show you what that looks like. The topper is finished now with the two sets of ribbons. I just secured the tails down just like I did on the darker solid ribbon on both sides with the 3 loops and 2 tails for each ribbon. And now I will go back with the brown ribbon and add this throughout the rest of the tree before I come back and add the rest of this accent ribbon. So I'll show you how I get started on that. And going back to the brown solid color ribbon, I just hold the end in one hand and drop the spool to the floor with the other. That way it frees up my other hand. And I'm just gonna do the same thing. So I just create a longer tail, and I come back and just create a couple of loops. You can do 1 loop, 2 loops, or 3 loops. I typically do 3 just to kind of keep it consistent with the topper, but you don't have to do that. And then I'll just add these 3 loops as the bow into the trees. And what I like to do is so I've got the topper up here, and so I like to work in a diamond shape. So I'll come back with this ribbon and I'll come over and add it here, and then I'll come off of the top and then add it here, and then another one here, and just kind of create a diamond shape all over the tree with each color. So then when I come back with the accent color, I'll do the opposite. So it kind of helps to fill out the tree all the way around with the different ribbon. So I'm going to add that to the tree now. I do it the exact same way. I either use the branch of the tree to secure this in, or the wires. So I'm going to use wires, and then I don't cut the tails here. So I put it in and I just leave this tail connected to the spool, and I'll show you what I do as soon as I get it in the tree. Okay, so here are the 2 bows that we just made for the toppers, and in a diamond shape I'm going to come down from those, and I added in the 3 loops that I just made with the brown ribbon here. So in the same way, I just used the wire ribbon and wired it into the base of the tree, and then this was the tail the shorter tail that was already cut, the end that was cut, and I just created 1 more loop just as an extension of that the 3 loops in the center there, and then secured it in with the branch of a tree, and then just left the tail here. This tail is still connected to the roll. So what I like to do when I'm making my way down the tree, I like to create 2 or 3 loops before I cut the ribbon, and that just helps to fill the tree out more with ribbon without having to create all these bows everywhere. So I just use the tails. Again, I make just a bump out loop and secure it in with the branch. I use the branch of the tree, and then I came out again for this second bump and secured it here. And now I'm going to just kind of come down a little bit, and then I'm going to make a cut again on an angle like that. So now and then I just kind of bump out that tail to make again, just to kind of keep it like it looks fluid coming off of the bow here that we just made. So that's what I'm going to do down the rest of the tree. Again, the next one, so just to orient you here, so I've got the 2 toppers here, and I came down here. So I'll make another one in this color, probably about here. And I'm just gonna kind of make that diamond shape all the way down the tree, and I'll come back and show you what that looks like when I'm finished. So I've come to the end of the roll, my first roll of the brown ribbon, and I was able to get a bow here with a long tail, and the bow here with the long tail, and then the other topper that we did over here. So when you come to the end of the spool, this one here is actually just 2 loops, and this is the tail, but I just situated the tail in such a way that it looked like it was part of the 3 loops. So that's a way you can kind of get around coming to the end of the spool and not really having enough to continue with your pattern throughout the rest of the tree. So just, use what you have and just make do with the whatever you have left on the roll. And then now I'll come back and use the second roll. This is, it's 10 yards. So I will come back with, probably put another one here, and maybe one here, and maybe one here, and that will probably be the end of the second roll for the brown. And then I'll be done with that color, and I'll do the exact same with the accent ribbon here. All the brown ribbon in. Again, I just kind of went in a diamond shape around the tree and added in the 3 loops with the long tails. I put some around the back and just made longer tails where it made sense. And now I will go back and start putting in the accent ribbon. So for the accent ribbon, I will come down, and so like here's the brown, 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 like in a diamond shape. So I'll come in like in here to put some of that accent ribbon, and then maybe like here, just kind of in a similar diamond shape, but opposite of the brown ribbon, if that makes sense. So I will get all of that in and show you what that looks like. Okay, so I've got all the ribbon on now. We're almost finished with this tree. I just came back in and added the accent ribbon in a diamond shape pattern opposite of the brown ribbon, just to kind of carry that color around the tree all the way around. And I ended up using 2 full spools of ribbon on both colors. So the accent ribbon and the brown ribbon, there were 2 spools that I used, and they were both 10 yards a piece. So 20 yards total of each ribbon to get this look. And again, this is a 7.5 foot tree. So now I will come back and add in the pumpkin picks, and this tree will be finished. I'm going to cut all these price tags off first. But once I do that, I'm going to look for just little holes to fill. I like these because there's a pumpkin, number one. But number two, there's all this floral stuff that's added into this little arrangement. And so when you add it to the tree, it really expands out and fills holes really nicely. So this is an area right here where I would add a pick. And so I'm gonna just, like I said, pull off all the price tags and then look for areas around the tree, like here, like I said, maybe one here, and just add them in where there are areas, just little pockets where it looks empty. And then that'll be it. I'll call this tree good. So let me do that and I'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's all finished. I got all the mess cleaned up and finished adding all of the pumpkin picks and got the lights plugged in, and here is the finished tree. I really like how it turned out this year. I really am happy with this ribbon choice. I feel like it's a good choice for the yellow in the tree skirt. I really like to add ribbons in my trees and florals. I feel like it's a quick and easy way to just fill the tree out, and I'm a fan of full trees. My husband walked by and I said, "How does it look? I finished." And he said, "Well, you can't even see the tree anymore." But that's how I like it, so. I think it turned out really pretty. So now I've just got the one in the dining room to decorate. And I think for that one, I will just set the camera up and decorate it, and maybe set the video to music. And I'll just follow the same process that I used for this tree here.